All right.
All right, we are on episode 16.
You still did it. Trying to shut it down. It's the energies today.
It's got a mind of its own. All right. This first section is entitled The Bad Rap of Responsibility. So, we can have these conversations, these discussions anytime you like. Okay, I've decided to go along with your explanation of things, and in the absence of knowing it, to act as if it's true. My reasoning is that if I am indeed already doing it, I may as well act it out and see for myself. I also want to see if this will change my behavior, like when I wrote about winning the lottery. Will I treat people or things differently? That is an acceptable approach. Remember, this is about the experience and finding out how it makes you feel and how it changes you. Openness to knowing precedes knowing. I can already tell there is a heaviness to this responsibility that can make me cautious if I let it, but there is also a lightness of the possibilities. That is the presentation of duality of your current state of separation, where you boil things down to should you stay or should you go. This has been your predominant method of deciding and is the most simplistic. But you are now proceeding with some higher forms of deciding. Hmm. Like like what? Like why not? What if you didn't do it? What would it say about you if you turned a blind eye to what could actually be true? What else would you be saying no to if you said no to this? What are the risks? And the big one is how this could set the stage for the future. Might I also note for your edification that you have not once thought of what it could give you. You are mainly focused on what you could do for others and the world you could create for them. This is precisely why you and your will have decided you are ready for this responsibility. World building requires inclusive thought, and you think predominantly in those terms. That is expansive. Conversely, exclusive thinking does not create new worlds. It siphons off resources from one part and gives it to another. It is the reshuffle of an existing deck, and therefore, exclusive thought is not expansive. Going forward, there is always the choice of inclusion or exclusion. One has the basis for creating something new, and one is a rehashing of the existing. Your tendency towards inclusion is more your answer of acceptance than your words. Okay, so why the divergence between my words and my tendency? That is a remnant of your duality of position. You hold one position and yet consider another. Until you decide which to take, you will display qualities of both while you internally deliberate. Is there an alternative approach? Yes, you may have heard me mention it. It's called acceptance. Ha ha, aren't you funny? So you do know of this alternative. Excuse me. You see yourself having two choices, but you know your old position isn't worthy of the experience any longer. That is why you have opened yourself to another position. You sense that this other position is the one you want, but because you still retain the habit of duality and finding reason, you couch this as a choice between the two, when, in reality, you've already decided but haven't accepted it yet. You are already moving in the direction of your choice by creating a third option, which is somewhere between the two positions, where you display qualities of both. This still gives you the duality of choice while you reason it out. But you are becoming aware that choice is part of the illusion of this play. Choice is just a transition in thought while you move from something old to something new. Even were you to decide to stick with the old, the new has already entered your bubble and begun impacting your behavior. The story you tell yourself is just your transition while you align to the intent of your will. Becoming more aware of your true intent versus your words is the act of accepting. When you can live without needing lengthy transitions, that is the life of acceptance. Okay, so I don't actually make any choices and things are already determined? That sounds counterproductive to life. Your will is a breathing entity and you are its breath. It needs you to express itself and you need it to empower your life. To keep you motivated and interested in serving its need, your will responds to your needs of life. If it was that simple, you would grow bored and disinterested. So your will endeavors to prevent that from happening by giving you the ability to create the life you would choose to live in and experience. Your life consists of two main streams: living an experience and creating that living experience. You have been focused on the living and mostly unaware of the creating. You are now becoming more aware of the creating that you do. Creating is not a choice. Choice is a mindset of duality, an either or mentality. Creation is new, beyond choice. You have been creating the blind. You have been creating in the blind to give yourself the illusion of choice in the living. Now that you are awakening to your creative abilities, that experience will begin to take precedence over the life of choice. To become fully immersed in the creative experience, you must accept that you are a creator. Anything less is your acceptance of a life of delusion, which you, in fact, created. Your acceptance, in either case, does not change the fact that you are a creator, only in your experience of it. But, like I said, you've already decided on the move to experience the life of a creator. Your decision just hasn't caught up to your awareness yet, and hence your transition. Would you like me to explain the birds and bees of creation to you? Ha ha. Maybe skip the birds and bees portion and help me understand how I create. What you're really asking is, how can you become more aware that you are creating? You have been creating all along. You've just been living an experience of not being aware of it. Like I said, you've already decided to change your experience, and you are now in your transition. So, you want to know how to speed your transition along to full acceptance. For that, you must see that you are creating your need for your transition and then living it. This may be the last vestige of your old paradigm of thinking you must eat everything off your plate before you have dessert. Somewhere in your mind, you have doubt about your readiness to take on the responsibility of creation. Although you've been creating all along, the thought of consciously being responsible for what you create is holding you back from accepting the experience of a creator. Since you've been responsible all along, your sticking point is becoming conscious of it. This may be you thinking your life of an experiencer is over, and you are soon to be living the life of a responsible creator, where fun, excitement, and exploration of the unknown are hard to come by. However, that thinking is an error. Your life of an experiencer is not over by a long shot. You are just getting to the good stuff. As a creator, with my guidance, you will be creating an experience that engages you more fully by merging the experiencer and creator experiences into one. Let me remind you of the sample you wrote about earlier in this manifesto, where you take a 1-year vacation on a boat with the ability to poof and bloop. In that scenario, you and your companions were blooping anywhere you wanted and then blooping back to the boat in the South Pacific. You only stopped that to come back to civilization so you could be a beacon for others to show them they could do it too. For that scenario, You wrote a script where you were being a responsible creator and you were experiencing the product of your creation. When you were writing that, did it feel too heavy? No, I was actually enjoying it and wondering what I could do next. Right. And you know what? You were barely scratching the surface. You didn't create anything wildly new by creation standards, if there were any. You stayed within the bounds of creating things that were already in existence. Imagine creating a landscape completely alien to human awareness, where it would take you lifetimes to explore it without looping capability. Then working it into the script that other humans can go explore it. Maybe meeting ETs while you're all there exploring it, and you work up a treaty with them to share technology, knowledge, and experiences. The possibilities are endless, and you will be in the driver's seat and any other seat you want. Think about it. If you can create a script where you live in a world of duality, scarcity, and fear, and you hide your abilities from yourself, so much so that you are having trouble believing you did it and are hesitant to believe anything else, then what can't you create? Responsibility has gotten a bad reputation in base living. It's the lack of responsibility that should bother you more. That lack is a reliance on a safety net of blindness that relegates you to a feather on the wind, when the sight of responsibility would see you, in truth, as the source behind the wind. The lack of responsibility is where the greatest struggle resides, and the abundancy of responsibility is the freedom from that struggle. But you have to want that abundancy more than you want the lack of it. How do you wish to proceed? I'm assuming you are asking me if I accept the responsibility. I can no longer think of one reason why I wouldn't accept. So all I can say is, make it so. I do have one more question though. Will the added responsibility make my butt look too big? Nope. Not after you pull your head out of it.
I was gonna say so it is. Oh, that's funny. Oh, they're very interesting. So you hadn't read that part to me, that last part to me, had you? Yeah. So later, I got up this 4 o'clock this morning, and I decided I just couldn't go to bed. It was like I couldn't go back to sleep about 5:30. I got up and came in and wrote, and it was about that, written in a different way, but about being a creator and how we trick ourselves. So very interesting. This energy is very strong.
Very.
Yeah.
It's very strong when
I was just talking to my mom too, because she was talking about how she has these, she loves to go and create, and she does artwork. She was like, I've just had these days where I just had to sit there, and I'm like, well, you could use those times for creating in your mind, for decide, like imagining what you want to happen and daydreaming and all that stuff. And it's just all in line with conversations I've been having and everything.
That's what this whole thing, the whole.
Literally like 10 minutes before I got on here, I had that conversation.
Well, and I didn't even tell you what I wrote this morning. I told you I wrote, right?
No,
but I
you
didn't
told
read
me.
it to him. Didn't tell him. So anyway.
No, I have no idea what you wrote.
Very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Very powerful energy.
I don't think that I'm the only one feeling these things. I'm writing it in my words.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But I am not naive enough to believe that I am the only one, nor do I have an ego big enough to think, oh, I'm the only one who can do this. No, this somehow I'm finding the words to be able to put this down in a format that's fairly easy to read.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't mean that other people aren't feeling the same energy. We're all pulling from that same source.
Yes.
That's why I would feel guilty about charging anyone for this stuff. It's kind of like charging you for the air they breathe. It's just not, it's not, it wouldn't be right.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, and think about our conversation yesterday when we were talking about what's going on, and we said we create, we're creating this next step. We're not, we're not
Yep.
wasting this time here. We are creating the new, and we're putting our whole intent into that, emerging with
And-
better and brighter.
And burning the ships behind us,
Yeah.
because there is no old paradigm to go back to.
No,
It's gone.
it'll never.
Yep.
Some people are going to try to look for it once we
Mhm.
come out of this, but it's not going to be there.
Mm-mm.
There'll be little remnants here and there that we think is sign of the old paradigm, but you go dive into it, you find out it's not. It's
Mm-mm.
not the same.
It's
Yeah,
not.
there was an article posted today, and it was about how be careful for the gaslighting that's about to happen, because we're all now, we don't need all this stuff, but all the companies are going to start trying to make sure we think we need it again, and to watch for those pitfalls, use your discernment, things like that. It was an interesting article.
And this is the practicing of our discernment. This is
Yes.
what we
Mhm.
need before we go into the next stage.
Mhm.
So this is the way
Yes.
we've drawn it up so
Yeah.
that we can learn from it, but
Mhm.
also experience it.
Mhm.
Yep.
Very interesting.
All right. Cool. All right. So the last one is, I will not make myself scarce. Do you realize that this paradigm of lack is over the moment I or any person starts directly manifesting? Can you imagine the storm of possibilities that would erupt if I or anyone else poofed a crystal into my hand or their hand out of the thin air? Oh, sure, there would be plenty of naysayers. But if I went on a popular podcast, like, say, Joe Rogan, showed him and his audience on video, and convinced Joe that it was legit, what do you imagine would happen after that? Do you think it would just blow over with the way the world is today? Plus, imagine if I said everyone else could do it too, once they did enough soul searching to convince themselves that they could do it. And then after 1 month, it was confirmed that there were over 100 people who could do it too. How would that change our world and us as a society? Again, I know there would be naysayers, but could the world in its current state really sweep this under the rug? Well, here's what I would do from that moment on. I would live the concepts that are in this manifesto and then run with it. When people tried to make a big deal out of me or position me or anyone else who could do this above them or anyone else, I wouldn't allow it unless it was for the highest good of all and I wanted it and it made sense. My main objective would be to share this manifesto with everyone and aid them in seeing their own possibilities. But I wouldn't force it on anyone, and no one would force me to do anything I didn't want to do, because they would have no influence over me, since there's nothing they could give me that I couldn't give to myself. With all of my physical wants and needs taken care of, I could spend all of my time and effort free of constraints to pursue what I want most, a society that loves itself. That kind of society would not be spending its time on wars, conflict, and strife. If we could all come to realize that all disputes are caused by one person wanting something from another person at the exclusion of what that other person wants, that is exclusionary living. Taking from one to give to another. An organism feeding on itself from fear of lack. This only occurs if we perceive a scarcity of what we need and want, which has been programmed into us. Imagine if all the news agencies started broadcasting that fresh water was becoming scarce. How would our society react? Think that's impossible? Look how they did it with toilet paper recently. Now, imagine that word got out that there was an abundance of everything, no limits, and access to all, no exclusions. There was so much supply that they were virtually giving everything away. It wouldn't matter what explanation they gave if the proof was all around you. after a few years of this, what would our society look like? Where would greed be? What would people look at external things the way they do today? Where might people go and do if all their physical products were always available? Some would sit and do virtually nothing, and that would be their choice. But I believe most people would get out of survival mode and look inside for their next evolution, especially if they saw others who were happy expanding themselves. The point is that our mindset can be altered by changing our programming from scarcity to abundancy. I currently live without a feeling of scarcity. I have everything I want of this world. My issue is that this world doesn't have the other things I want. Would that make them scarce? I could label them as such and fall victim to that mindset. Or I could recognize the abundancy of those things inside me and share it with everyone I meet. These things are not physical. They are concepts and ideas that could fundamentally change the way we live and experience this world. And they reside in all of us, buried under the narratives and agendas of our programming, just waiting to be activated. No one is going to deliver these things to us. We are the ones to take the personal responsibility of delivering it ourselves. That is the only way to assure we get what we want. I am taking the responsibility for my own wants and happiness, and my intent is being documented in this manifesto. Each day I feel more and more aligned to it and accepting of the responsibility this implies. And I feel a growing urge for these kinds of concepts and ideas from the energy around me. It's as if my view of this world is responding to my increasing acceptance. Is it possible that as my acceptance crosses a threshold, so too will more people come to find out more about these concepts? Imagine if that did happen and what it may signify. It would be easy to get caught up in the numbers, but that's not why we are doing this. I can honestly say that writing this manifesto and doing these now 16 episodes have opened me further to expansive possibilities and helped clarify what's been inside me all along. This is too expansive to keep bottled up inside and not share it. This is why we have all the episodes in PDFs available for anyone to read from Google Docs and Dropbox. No account necessary, nor money. You send us an email at stardragonbrood@gmail.com asking for the transcripts, and we'll send you the links. And we welcome any and all feedback or comments.
Absolutely. Beautiful.
And that's when I was telling you, it dried up on me.
It just stopped.
It just stopped. When I wrote that last little bit, I was like, well, I can't end. I didn't feel like an end. I feel like it just, like something happened. Something so significant. It shifted. It actually shifted the world.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, whoa.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just like, and I still haven't regained it because I haven't felt it come back yet.
Mm-hmm. It's very interesting.
I don't feel bad. I just feel like, I don't know, like I was all of a sudden blindfolded and spun around and I'm supposed to hit a piñata with no direction.
Oh, well, it'll be interesting what emerges now.
I don't know. Something has happened. Something's changed.
The energy has been so incredible today. Just intense and thick and shifty, and it felt like an intersection is the way I would describe it. There was an intersection, and
I hope the stoplights are working.
So interesting.
Yeah,
Cool.
I feel it. I mean, I haven't really settled into it yet because it's like, wow, it's like right there, and I need to back out, and I keep backing out, and it's still right there.
It's like we're coming.
It's like, I can't see, I can't
Yeah.
see.
It's like Mackenzie when she's trying to get over and I keep moving and she keeps coming, like, come on. I can't see.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so I don't know exactly what it means yet. I'm definitely need to sit with it some more, but because it just happened,
Mm-hmm.
like not even maybe a half an hour ago when I was writing that last little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was going, I was guy that's going. I'm trying to think where was I when I was actually writing that? Oh, I think it was. I can honestly say that writing this manifesto, doing these now 16 episodes, opened me further to expansive possibilities, and it just went, whoo.
It's like, that's all we need to focus on today. Expansive possibilities.
Expansive possibilities, and you are creating. You are creating. Yes. So some of it's creative, we create before we arrive here, and some
Mhm.
of it we create in our perspectives, using our perspectives.
It's like we're given all the supplies, the construction paper and this thing. We can make what we want with it.
Mm-hmm.
We can make ugly, crappy, half-assed stuff, or we can make really, really intricate, cool, interesting things.
Speak for yourself, Jenny. That's like what I said earlier in the manifesto.
Mm-hmm.
All the house plans, I mean, all the housing
Materials.
materials have been delivered on site,
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
and now I have everything I need to build the house. And now it's just a matter of figuring out what, I don't have a completed house plans. I just set of house plans. I have concepts.
Mm-hmm.
And now and this manifesto is helping me kind of put all the pieces well, I want the bathroom near there, and yeah, but that's not how you do it. Well, that's not the way you did it in
Mm-hmm.
the old paradigm, but I'm not abiding by that anymore.
Mhm. Like, I want a toilet that follows me around in case I need it. It's always there. I don't have to go to the bathroom, or I don't even have to go at all. I don't even have to use one anymore.
We're gonna start calling her Outhouse Jenny. She's gonna have a little moon on her forehead. Jenny, you are so full of. Well, you can complete that sentence.
Be so popular at a concert, right? They wouldn't have to stand in line. They'd be like, "Where's Jenny?"
That's one way of using your imagination.
Hey, that works.
I mean, if that floats your boat.
Oh Lord.
Hey.
If that moves your noodle.
Oh shoot. Oh, that's funny.
I can feel more people's imaginations
Mm-hmm.
starting to arise from all this sitting around and being away from work.
Yeah.
Because we go to work. I mean, typical. And we're distracted. We get distracted by work. We're doing all this other stuff. So if you're doing that, even if you're not working, we even talked about going to work. I'm done. I'm there. I've been at work 2 hours. I'm already done. I've already done everything I need to do for the day.
Yeah.
But they stipulate I've got to be there for another 6 hours or 7 hours or whatnot. And it's hard to sit and get into that meditative state or whatever, or use your imagination.
Well, people are now discovering, I mean, they're getting time with their kids, or they're getting time at home, or they're getting time away from the pressures of time and going from meeting to meeting to problem, because everything, I mean, for most people, it's kind of slowed down and shut down. And, I think I've heard a lot of people talking about rethinking, like, what is it I really want to do? Their imaginations are opening up about what their lives are. I know I have sat here and thought about, oh, I want to try this, or I want to try that, or I want to play with this. It's just really,
Well, I think that's
really interesting.
I think that's what the manifesto came about for me, is just rethinking everything and saying, all right, what is it about this world that's holding me to it? And I realized nothing. other than the people.
Mm-hmm.
But this world, people don't have to be tied to this world.
Right.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, we were talking earlier. It's like people are getting to realize they don't need. I mean, they haven't been shopping other than essential, things going, and so they're going to realize they don't need stuff that they thought they needed.
Yeah.
It's just so many things are shifting right now on the planet. I think that's some of the energy shifting we're feeling too. And even to the point, a lot of conversations this week with people about feeling a lack of motivation, and we've talked about
Yes.
the whole. It's not really a lack of
It's a
motivation.
shift in motivation.
It's just shifting because we have always had that kind of push. You've got to be productive and be doing, and you kind of have that urgency and almost that stress addiction. And now that that's being kind of removed or lessened or even turned off in some cases, it's like you're feeling like I'm floaty. Wait, I'm not really feeling like I'm being pushed, And so
Yep.
people are seeing that as a lack of motivation when it's just ease. It's more ease because you still get stuff done, but you
Yep.
have pressure. So, yeah, which alleviates energy or elevates your energy and creates excess energy where you can play with other ideas.
You got to realize that not just a 51% majority, but a huge majority of this country is sitting at home.
Of the world.
Yeah, of the world. But I'm just,
Yeah.
I can't speak for them. I can't speak for anybody really, but yeah, are just sitting home.
I mean,
They may be doing stuff via Zoom
mm-hmm.
or whatever, but they're still in their homes.
Mm-hmm.
They may be doing stuff, but they're not going anyplace.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So their whole work schedule has been torn apart.
Mm-hmm.
And they're figuring out because they've been in that pattern. Most of us have been in that pattern, that work pattern, all our lives.
I wonder if this is probably the first time on the planet where the planet, all these 180 some countries, whatever it's up to now, are focused and experiencing a similar thing that's not war.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's pretty incredible when you think about it. And back months ago, we talked about how do we create community without having to do it through war, and
So you're saying start a pandemic?
I wouldn't choose this one, but don't waste it. You know what I mean?
That's the big thing: is
don't waste it.
Don't waste this opportunity.
It's not the most pleasant way, but it's better than war in cases.
But that's what I think this is this is an opportunity that couldn't be wasted. It's like the white hats or whoever, the benefactors or whatever, said, all right, let's take this opportunity. Whoever instigated it, whatever it actually is, we don't know what it is. We're just being told what it is. And even if you say, well, the doctor said, it doesn't matter. The doctors are they're following someone else's narrative, not yours. We don't know. People can quote all they want from this person or that person.
Well, the doctors will say they even don't know what this is, when they analyze it. So they'll even say, we don't know what this is. So, yeah.
I have a feeling someday soon we're gonna, for those who want to know, it's going to be provided about what this actually was.
Yeah. Massive healing and transformation.
Yep. A transition period, which is exactly what I'm in when I wrote about. We're in a transition.
Yep.
And now it's about time to get out of it. That's what I'm feeling. I'm feeling I'm about ready to move on this, and it's happening the same on here.
Well, I like how you talked about how the trip with the year on the boat, that was all stuff that already exists basically. Yep. But what about things that we haven't even thought of, or that, otherworldly things? And it's just, it's so expansive. It can be, we choose to have it that way.
If you open the door to it, you have to.
Right.
If you keep that door closed, well, don't be surprised if you never see anything new.
Right.
I mean, you have to have the door open to something in order to let it come in,
Mm-hmm.
and that's
Yeah.
that's to me. This manifesto has helped me on so many different areas. The whole writing of it has opened me to different possibilities,
Mm-hmm.
and realizing this world isn't exactly what we thought it was. There's much more to it. I have a feeling that the ones that have been running things, they knew more about it than we did, and they were using it against us. And we let them, but now it's time to go to get beyond that.
Mm-hmm.
It's like we experienced that, we went through it, we learned what we need to learn. Now it's time to turn to something new.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and not let our fear of the unknown or the uncertainty keep us trying to reach back for the old.
Well, it's
So
like
let's go to
it's
the
like I was
forward.
talking about responsibility. It's not responsibility that should bother us. It's the lack of responsibility. People not wanting to take responsibility should bother us more than people wanting to take responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because you're saying, I want to be blind. I want someone else to lead me.
Mm-hmm.
That's basically when you say, I don't want the responsibility, you're saying, I want someone else to make my decisions for me.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm done with that.
That's
Yeah,
not
me
sovereign.
too.
Sovereignty is when you take your own responsibility.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And, you can put it on someone else, but then don't get all huffy and whatnot if they give you
Not what you
not what you wanted. The only way you
Mm-hmm.
can get what you want is to do it yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking of a whole world of people doing it themselves. Well, won't that step on each other's toes? No, I don't think so.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I seriously believe that sovereign beings will be much more receptive and open,
Mm-hmm.
especially if you don't need anything from anyone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think you'd be much more flexible and able to bend this way and that way, because there isn't just one way to get what you want.
Mm-hmm.
There's infinite possibilities of the way to get what you want.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But we're programmed by media and celebrities and whatever that we need that, we got to have that size house, we need that kind of car.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's coming to an end.
Well, think about all the stuff. Yeah, all the stuff that we said. Oh, well, we have to have this done by this time, and you can't miss this deadline. And I mean, just all of the drivers of our society. And then all of a sudden, we can just write it off and say, okay, we're not doing that anymore for now until who knows when. And it's like, oh, you realize those were all just belief systems about, oh, we need to do this at this point in time, or we need to, they were all belief systems that we all just had agreed to follow along. So very much so. And we're not able, because of the uncertainty and things keep shifting, people are having to learn to be more flexible. It's stressing them out, and they're going inside to deal with that.
Well, the funny thing is about the toilet paper.
Oh yeah.
Okay, if people didn't run out to try to hoard toilet paper, would there ever been any concern about toilet paper? Because as far as I know, all the stores pretty much stayed open. You can still order things online. So if we wouldn't have had that fear and that reaction, would there have been any problem with toilet paper?
No.
Yeah, that's crazy. Wonder where that exactly started from. Who started the toilet paper craze?
Okay.
Charmin.
Coast to
Mr. Charmin.
coast.
Yeah.
Coast to coast. So it wasn't like any particular area.
Yeah.
That's because it wasn't one person. I think it was almost like someone flipped a switch, and then those who were programmed to be receptive to that fear, that they had the scarcity ready to go, the scarcity feeling. Because to me, scarcity is a mindset.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And I'm talking about having that last section that I wrote was about instead of having a scarcity mindset, having an abundancy. It's inside you.
Yeah, very much.
But if you're tied to things, then you're susceptible. to scarcity of those things.
Mm-hmm.
Or results. Yep. If you're attached to anything, any outcomes.
Yeah. Plan and pencil. Plan and pencil and be creative and draw your own world, right?
Yeah, that's why they have erasers.
Mm-hmm.
If we didn't need them, we wouldn't make them.
Yeah.
I think I wrote about that way back.
Yes,
when.
I did.
Mhm.
You did. All right. Anything else to
Mhm.
add to this one? No?
Nope, we beat
We
that
complete?
dead horse.
All right. Bye, everybody.